Any health-related information on the following show provides general information only. Content presented on any show by any host or guest should not be substituted for a doctor's advice. Always consult your physician before beginning any new diet, exercise, or treatment program.
Welcome to the Accelerated Health TV and radio show. I'm your host, Sara Banta. I'm a wife, busy mom of 3, and the founder of the cutting-edge supplement brand, Accelerated Health Products. This podcast is more than just a source of information. It's a community for you and for those looking to optimize their health. I release new podcasts every Mondays and Tuesdays, so remember to subscribe and add to your playlist so you never miss a show. I usually throw in a Thursday one as well. And join my free group coaching on Telegram. There's no downside. The details can be found on my website, sarabantahealth.com. My goal is to reach everyone who needs me with this message of healing. So help me with that goal. I cannot do it alone. Share this podcast with some of your friends and loved ones, and together we can empower each other on our journey to optimize health. So today we are talking about brain health. We always talk about the body, right? But it's so connected to the brain, and the brain's so connected to the body. And surprisingly, brain health remains one of the most overlooked aspects of well-being. How many people do you know are declining cognitively? Anxiety, depression, all the mood disorders, but just their brain fog and their ability to use their brain with that brain power that they used to have. Well, it is a problem. And did you know that once cognitive decline sets in, it's among the few conditions that cannot easily be reversed? So that's why it's so important to take proactive measures to prevent cognitive decline. As a 48-year-old mom and daughter and wife, I think about all the generations. I've got my kids, so many kids have ADHD and learning disabilities, and they're struggling in school. And then you've got the older generation and my parents and them fearing dementia, Alzheimer's, and what's going on with their brains. And you see them repeating themselves over and over again. And I repeat myself over and over again because of the stress, right? And then the stress causes you to not be able to remember everything as well as you used to. So before diving into the world of nootropics for brain health, we want to understand what constitutes brain health. I hear people intertwining the terms brain health and mental health, and they're connected but very different. Brain health refers to the overall well-being and functioning of the brain, including its structure, the chemistry, cognitive function, intelligence, and motor skills. Those are related to brain health. Mental health relates to your emotions, psychological and social well-being, depression, schizophrenia, bipolar, anxiety. Those are all mental health conditions. And although they are closely related, the brain being the organ that governs mental processes, they represent very different aspects of our overall well-being. And good brain health provides a foundation for good mental health, but mental health encompasses broader aspects of emotional and psychological well-being, including the ability to function effectively in society and maintaining and fulfilling relationships. Both are important. So it reminds me of a time when my youngest child was in second grade. She was very good at spelling, recognizing words, knowing how to read those words. But she lost her faith in her ability to comprehend, and her comprehension actually started going downwards. Well, that was not because of ADHD. We don't really know what the cause was, but then what made it worse was her anxiety over it. So that's an example of where the mental health and the brain health intertwined. Now, of course, through good supplements and good diet, and then helping with her anxiety, that girl is a top student in high school in all honors classes and doing very well and able to read, of course. So that was just an example of where that brain health and mental health are interconnected. So how do the modern times affect our health? Are we acting as if or the same way our ancestors were? Were our brains the same as our ancestors? No. Do you have a smartphone? Do you surf the net? Do you watch TV? Do you use social media? I actually feel my brain hurt every time I scroll on social media. I get a headache. So let's take a look at how these technologies have negatively, in fact, impacted our brain function, information access, and memory. So, with the ability to quickly look up information online, research has shown individuals now rely less on their memory for storing information, leading to a potential decline in certain types of memory skills, such as recall. When I was growing up, I knew all of my best friends' phone numbers. I actually could probably recall some of them right now. But do I know any of their phone numbers now? No, it's stored in my smartphone. Why would I ever memorize a phone number? In fact, one of my kids, it wasn't until a year ago that she actually realized what her dad's phone number was, because she didn't need it. So that is an example of this lack of need for it. So we're not strengthening those muscles, right? Like we go to the gym and strengthen our body's muscles, we're not strengthening our memory muscles. And it's affecting the cognitive skills. The internet has altered the way people think and process information. The constant exposure to online content, particularly through social media and short form communication platforms, has been associated with shortened attention spans and reduced ability to concentrate for extended periods of time. Most of you are probably going to click off of this podcast right now because it's been 7 minutes and you have lost your interest. And you're now watching the short clips on YouTube or on the podcast outlets or on social media. You're just watching those 30 to 60-second clips because your attention span has lost its muscle. Right? Okay, it's also affecting our social interactions. The internet has revolutionized the way people connect and communicate with each other. The social media platforms, online forums, messaging apps, it's making us so that we are connecting across vast distances. And this can enhance social support networks, provide opportunities for collaboration and knowledge sharing. It's great. I love it. But it's been linked to negatively impact our mental health, such as feelings of loneliness, anxiety, and depression, all needed for optimal cognitive function. And the pandemic didn't help. It made us even more sedentary. So maybe we're anxious that we don't want to leave the house, but we're lonely. So we want to leave and be with people, but what are we really doing? Being on the phone with someone through social media, that is not true connection. That is not what our ancestors or even us 20 years ago were experiencing. So our ancestors were not exposed to this technology, and science has needed, as it does, to respond with smart drugs to help the brains cope with these societal developments. And these smart drugs are called nootropics. I've talked about nootropics and how they affect our mental health, but we're going to talk about brain health. So nootropics include various compounds believed to boost brain function, memory, focus, and overall brain health and mental health. And it involves multiple fields like neuroscience, pharmacology, and psychology. Many of these substances work by affecting the brain's chemicals, dopamine, serotonin, acetylcholine, which are crucial for learning, memory, and attention. Now, of course, you can't just take a pill and fix everything, right? You got to do some other stuff too, and we'll get into that as well. But some of these nootropics also protect the brain cells from damage caused by oxidative stress and inflammation, while others improve blood flow to the brain, ensuring that it's getting the nutrients and oxygen to function well. And as much as we want to be living healthy lifestyles, all of us, me included, are experiencing higher levels of oxidative stress and inflammation from the toxins, the air quality, the fluoride, the bromide, the chlorine, the mercury, the forever chemicals in our topical, our makeup and our washes and all of that stuff. All of this stuff we can't get away from. This is part of modern society, and it's causing this increase in oxidative stress and inflammation. And this is why people are looking to what kind of diet should they follow to help with their weight loss that was never an issue 40 years ago. And I talk a lot about the body issues, and the body's health is not about calories in, calories out. It's about the toxins and the modern food supply and the modern air quality, and all of these things our bodies are being bombarded with. So it's not just affecting our body and our physique and our lack of energy and our lack of ability to lose weight. It's affecting our brain health. And I have 2 genes for Alzheimer's. So I better do all the right things to prevent Alzheimer's and cognitive decline in my body. And you better believe that I do. So research does show that nootropics can impact the synaptic plasticity, which is the brain's ability to form and strengthen connections between the neurons. This process is vital for that learning and memory. And some nootropics may even encourage the growth of new connections, leading to better cognitive performance and adaptability. I can tell you that my brain feels better than it did when I was at Stanford in college. And I would not have needed to study as hard as I did if I had the tools that I have now. And it's super exciting. It's great when modern society brings these challenges and then we have solutions. Advances in the neurosciences have introduced new compounds with potential nootropic effects. And this is helping our brains work, and they're being used for therapeutic purposes. So what are conditions associated with poor brain health? So remember, depression, anxiety, and common symptoms of mental health issues, that's not what we're talking about. Those can be triggered by poor brain health, but we are talking about the brain. Okay, so neurodegenerative diseases such as Alzheimer's, Parkinson's, Huntington's disease, they're characterized by progressive degeneration of nerve cells in the brain, and they can lead to significant cognitive decline, memory loss, impaired motor function. The other thing about those is they don't get diagnosed until the late stages, so it's almost too late to do anything. I always say it's never too late, but it's always better to start earlier and be more preventive. Then you can also have a stroke. A stroke occurs when the blood flow to a part of the brain is blocked or reduced, leading to brain damage. Depending on the severity or location of the stroke, it can cause neurological deficits, paralysis, speech impairment, cognitive impairment. You can also have a traumatic brain injury. You don't want to have that. I remember my son, who was about 9 years old, he fell off a skateboard. He was wearing a helmet, but he still hit his head pretty hard and had some damage where it really affected his mood, his studying, and we did a lot of treatments for that. But there was definitely a cognitive and brain effect that he experienced from that. Now, with the tools that we used, his brain's functioning perfectly. He's a college student doing very well. And you never know what damage, if we repaired 100% of the damage or 90%, but I can tell you that we did everything we could, and he is functioning as a 21-year-old and very successfully. So TBIs can range from mild concussions to severe brain damage, and they can lead to cognitive impairment, memory problems, mood disturbances, and changes in behavior. There was that movie, I can't remember the name, about the football players that had the TBIs and their changes in their moods, and a lot of them became suicidal, depressed. It was a real eye-opener. Chronic stress. Who is not under chronic stress in 2024? So prolonged exposure to stress can have detrimental effects on brain health. It's been associated with structural changes in the brain. So you are actually could be shrinking the hippocampus in your head, which is involved in memory, as well as impairments in cognitive function, mood disorders, and increased risk of developing neurodegenerative diseases. It's been said that a lot of Fortune 500 CEOs and very wealthy men that have been successful in business come out with these Alzheimer's or dementia much earlier. And my guess is because they were under severe stress their whole lives, right? So it's so much easier said than done, right? You need supplements. This came up as a question in my group today, actually, because chronic stress can cause blood sugar and cortisol to go up, which is going to cause you to gain weight. So we're not even just talking about what it's doing to your brain. It could be causing inflammation and weight gain and water retention in your body. Stress is what kills. So part of the solution to brain health and body health is controlling stress and possibly using supplements to help you do that. Mental health disorders. As previously mentioned, the brain health and mental health can be interconnected. What many people don't realize is that conditions like depression, anxiety, bipolar disease, schizophrenia can actually impact brain function. These disorders are associated with altering the brain chemistry, abnormal neural activity, and changes to the brain structure, which can affect cognitive processes, emotional regulation, and behavior. So this is where they're interconnected. And then sleep, right? Well, sleep is related to stress too, or can be, but sleep plays a crucial role in brain health. Disrupting the sleep patterns can negatively impact your cognitive function. This is no surprise. You know that when you have a bad night's sleep, you feel slow the next day. We just had the clocks move forward. I feel behind already because I slept in, and if I didn't sleep in, my sleep was going to suffer. I tried to go to bed early, but my clock didn't know that it was an hour earlier because it just didn't, right? It was the first night, and I didn't sleep very well. I feel behind. I feel slow today because of my sleep, and that was just one night. The good news with all that we're talking about is prevention is better than a cure. And nootropics may be a simple and smart preventative measure. So what are the causes of poor brain health? And some of them are going to be very obvious, and others not so much. So some brain conditions can't be avoided. We have the power to do what we can to reverse that with these causes. And the first one is substance abuse. So like I mentioned, this is pretty obvious. Chronic substance abuse, including drugs, alcohol, they can have profound effects on the brain health. And it can lead to neurochemical imbalances, structural changes in the brain, cognitive impairment, increased risk of mental health disorders. I know someone who was a severe alcoholic all of his life, and at a very young age, he's got Alzheimer's. So even if you abstain and you become sober, you may have done permanent damage to your brain and the structure. Something to think about and something to talk to your kids about, right? Okay, elevated chronic stress, like I mentioned. The unprecedented levels of chronic stress in modern society, financial concerns, lack of control over political situations, global apprehension, and other contributing factors, all of this increases those stress levels. So what I talk about is that those stressors are always going to be there. How do you perceive them? How do you take them in? How do you process your stresses? I see every stress that you can see it as a 1 or a 10, right? 10 being the highest level. Regardless of how you see your stress, it's going to come and go. Today is going to pass. Tomorrow is coming, right? So why don't we try to see our stressors as a one and just sail through it? Trust, have faith, whatever your religious is. I trust in God. I have faith that he will take care of me. I have faith that whatever is supposed to happen is going to happen. And you know what? That takes a lot of load off of me. And as a mom of three, you've got to let go, right? You've got to let go of these stressors because they can kill you. They can tap your adrenals, increase your cortisol, cause unexplained weight gain, cause this change in your brain structure and brain health, cause memory issues, and lead to your chronic disease, cancers, and die. So then where did that stress take us? So all of these supplements that we talk about, the diet, the exercise, all of that is only going to help you take one step forward when you're taking two steps back with your stress level. So stress, stress, stress. That is what we need to manage for all of our brain health and our body. Excessive sugar and processed food consumption. Okay, so more and more it's coming to light that we are in an era where, is it the paleo? Is it keto? Is it carnivore? Is it vegan? What diet is going to get you your optimal health, right? My mom's generation, my parents' generation, when they were growing up, you know what they didn't have? They didn't have processed foods. They didn't have the excessive amounts of added sugars to foods. Nowadays, 70% of what is in the market and 70% of what you are putting in your mouth is not whole food. Back then, they were eating whole foods. They were eating everything. They were eating carbs. Imagine that. They were eating sugar, but it was whole sugar, not added fructose or high fructose corn syrup. They were not eating processed seed oils. All of these foods are what is causing accelerated disease in the brain and the body. And I have to even talk to my parents about this because nowadays you eat what is normal. What is normal is 70% processed foods because that is what people are eating. And I did a ketogenic diet. I've done low carb. I've done paleo. I've done it all. I've done even carnivore. What I am doing now is eating all the macros. I'm eating carbs, but guess what? They're whole food. I try not to touch anything that comes in a package. So a diet rich in these processed foods and sugar have been linked to elevated blood sugar levels, causing mood instability. Why do you think most kids have ADHD or anxiety? It's these processed foods. And the older population is having cognitive decline. Even my age group, everyone's suffering from brain fog. These processed foods. And did you know that Alzheimer's and dementia are known to be type 3 diabetes, insulin resistance? And this insulin resistance isn't from the carbs, okay? Sugar and carbs make it worse. But the true cause are the toxins, the processed foods, and the excess amounts of high fructose corn syrup. It's literally like putting sugar in your vein, like cocaine. And that sugar is more addictive than cocaine and alcohol. So it is really, really important if you take anything away from today to try to stick to whole food. You're not going to binge on potato. You're not going to binge on a ribeye steak. You're going to binge on the Pringles and the Ben & Jerry's and the pizza. Okay, so with that is the degradation of our food supply, the processed foods, the vegetable oils, the PUFAs, glyphosate, fluoridated water, genetically modified organisms, which are GMOs. Those are adversely affecting our brain function. GMOs in non-organic food disrupts the gut, hindering the detoxification of sulfur-containing foods and foods with oxalates. And we're going to get into that in a minute. I talk a lot about that on my website, in my articles, and on my past podcasts. So if you don't know what that is, dive deep into those. But these disruptions can lead to compromised immune system, leaky gut, brain fog, cognitive decline, and diminished physical and mental performance. And it doesn't have to be a lot of it. I mean, just a little bit of it can actually disrupt your gut and cause leaky gut with one meal. Leaky gut is where the strength and integrity of the intestinal walls is compromised with holes. So think of like fishnet stockings, where it's allowing foreign particles to leak into the bloodstream and triggering a systemic inflammatory response. The gut is closely tied to the brain through that gut-brain axis. We've talked to Karen Krishnan on the podcast about this, so make sure you go back and listen to him. As a result, the leaky gut, the neurotransmitters that are usually produced in the gut, like serotonin, dopamine, and GABA, are not being manufactured, leading to brain issues. And in that question from a group this morning about how to control stress, well, you got to heal your gut, because GABA and dopamine and serotonin help calm down your brain so that you process the stress much more easily. So if you have leaky gut, you're going to be anxious. Then if you're anxious, the stress seems like that 10 and not the 1. Okay, oxalates. Oxalates are found in some healthy foods and some of the foods that I was like downing. In fact, those foods include spinach, almonds, most nuts, berries, beans, beets, grains, turmeric, and kale. We used to make kale chips. I was drinking turmeric in my drinks all day long because it's supposed to be super healthy for you. We had bags and bags of almonds and nuts in my pantry because that was keto, and my son needed to eat 5,000 calories a day to support his athletic endeavors. And then spinach, of course, that's super healthy, so let's have a spinach green drink. All of those are full of oxalates. So when they're consumed, they get deposited in your tissues, your thyroid. They cause hypothyroidism. They cause arthritis. They cause urogenital disease, neuropathic pain, poor concentration, mental and emotional fatigue, mood issues, memory issues, lack of focus, learning issues, depression, anxiety, dementia, and Parkinson's disease. So you tell me, are you going to have that green drink full of spinach? Are you going to have the greens powder full of spinach and kale and all of these healthy greens? And not only is it worse than a greens powder because it's concentrated, right? So you're getting more than the body would normally be able to eat. You eat a portion of spinach and your body says, okay, I'm full. You drink it in a powder, you're drinking like 6 times the amount. You're also getting the higher levels of heavy metals that are in those soils typically. So those are the oxalates. Now the sulfur foods, they used to be healthy for us. And they could have been foods that you were eating a while ago and your body loved them, and now it just doesn't work. Due to the glyphosate and the infiltration of the spike protein from the pandemic, everyone, it doesn't matter who you are, me included, our detox pathways have been compromised. And as a result, once those healthy foods and medications, yes, it's in medications and supplements like glutathione and MSM, things that you're taking to help with your health, right? They are now backfiring. Oh, and DIM. A lot of people for estrogen dominance and estrogen detoxification take DIM. Well, that is concentrated sulfur vegetables, and that will backfire. So it's actually backing up the detox pathways in the body, leading to increased histamine reactions. So me, for instance, never had histamine issues, allergies, nothing, right? Now I do. I have to be careful with the foods I eat to make sure they're not high histamine foods. And if they are, I take a histamine digest with every meal. So like for instance, tonight I'm making my bison meatballs with some low carb noodles and a little bit of red spaghetti sauce, right? Or tomato sauce. Well, tomatoes have high histamines. I will be eating that with my histamine digest. I also won't be having a lot of it. But the sulfur can also increase inflammation in the brain and the body, causing more anxiety, mood swings, dizziness, insomnia. So, what are these foods? These foods include broccoli, cauliflower, cabbage, kale, onions, garlic, and egg yolks. And some of these foods you might be able to handle better than others, but just be aware. Amyloid proteins, they're found in conventionally raised meats and chicken, pork, beef. They contribute to an increased amyloid burden in the body. Have you heard the word amyloid before? They talk about amyloid plaque in the brain with Alzheimer's. The accumulation of these amyloids disrupt the gut, leading to autoimmune diseases and brain fog. They are misfolded proteins deposited in the brain, causing that dementia and Alzheimer's while promoting the overgrowth of gut pathogens and accelerating other chronic diseases. So another thing to think about, and that's why I talk about wild animal protein. Histamines are also something that you need to think about for your brain. They're involved in the immune response, regulation of stomach acid, and neurotransmission in the brain. Although they're needed for human health, we are seeing that exaggerated histamine response and side effects like headaches, dizziness, concentration difficulties, anxiety, insomnia, mood swings, digestive issues, skin reactions, fatigue, nasal and respiratory symptoms, and irregular heartbeat. So what are those foods? Alcohol, fermented foods. And we think fermented foods are super healthy for you. No, they're high histamine. Aged foods, bone broth, another healthy food. Dairy, grains, avocado. Avocados are nature's golden food, right? Well, they're full of histamines, tomatoes, and soy. And then the spike proteins impact. Okay, not many people are talking about this. This is part of the SARS-CoV-2 virus, but it not only plays a role in the infection, but it's implicated in deteriorating health conditions, including mental health disorders. So away from the stress of the pandemic, the spike protein has been shown to actually increase depression and elevate insulin resistance, impacting insulin hormonal regulation, causing oxidative stress, water retention, inflammation, affecting the ACE2 receptor. Oh my goodness. So it is contributing to heightened histamine reactions, detoxification issues, increased oxalates in the body. Yes. So even without eating oxalates, the spike protein is increasing oxalates in the body. And it's also increasing amyloids in the body away from eating amyloids. It's increasing cholesterol levels, gastrointestinal issues, exacerbating the mental health conditions. So with all of that great news, what do we do about it? Well, we're talking about the brain here. So what nootropics can help with all of these things that we are being bombarded with, right? The toxins, the processed foods, the social media, the increased chronic stress, the financial worries, the spike protein, these healthy foods that are no longer healthy anymore. What do we do? Because honestly, it's overwhelming to me. So I'm sure it's overwhelming to you. The good news is that our company, Accelerated Health Products, has come out with the Accelerated Cogniblast. I take it every single day. And I take it actually before I sit down to write an article or before my podcasts. And I feel that I literally take my brain health to another level. And I also factually will start typing better on the computer. So my fingers, my connection from my hands to my brain is even faster. Accelerated Cogniblast is the first nootropic supplement in the world combining traditional Ayurvedic herbs known to improve brain health with the smart nutraceuticals, then enhanced with the scalar frequencies. No other company does this, and we do this with all of our supplements. Ayurvedic herbs that have been around for thousands of years, smart nutraceuticals, and smart new modern ingredients with added scalar frequencies. So the combination of the ingredients help improve mood, focus, increase production of ATP, ATP is true cellular energy. That is your mitochondrial health. The goal in life is to increase your ATP and your mitochondria. That will contribute to longevity. It lowers anxiety, increases motivation, decreases the risk of Alzheimer's and dementia. So you're actually seeing a change short term within 30 minutes, and then also preventative medicine for long-term issues. It neutralizes damaging free radicals, lowers inflammation, supports the liver, the lungs, kidneys, and other organs, improves circulation, lowers stress. So that perceived stress, you're still going to have your stressors. They're just not going to be, they're not going to seem as big. It's going to optimize your energy. And then the scalar frequencies that we add into it helps clear emotional and physical shock from the body, enhances the health of the brain, improves memory, and also detoxes the halogen toxins, which are the fluoride, bromide, and chlorine from the pineal and the pituitary. It decalcifies the pineal, pituitary, and hypothalamus, and it balances both hemispheres of the brain. I have so many testimonials about this supplement. One is that there's a friend, a young friend, super stressful job, trying to keep up, already suffered from anxiety before this job. She started taking it because she was going to be put on an antidepressant or anti-anxiety drug. She started it. She started the Cogniblast, the Acceleradine, and the accelerated thyroid. She feels amazing. I also have had people come to me, start taking it. I didn't even know they were on anti-anxiety drugs or antidepressants. It's gotten them off of their drugs. I have another young person come to me saying, Sara, this is so much better than my Ritalin. I don't have any of the side effects of the Ritalin, and I feel even better. So the amount of testimonials from young and old, and I have older people who feel brain fog and the dementia coming on and say, God, I just feel on it. I feel better and I feel on it. So what are the ingredients? Theocrine. That is like caffeine. It's an isolated purine alkaloid that offers so many stimulant-like benefits without the negative side effects associated because it's not a stimulant. It helps us by helping with the dopamine and the adenosinergic pathways in the brain, interacting with the neurotransmitters, and it also helps enhance dopamine activity, amplifying all that signaling, and it will increase energy, endurance, heighten motivation, focus, mood, all of the things. Then there's the DMAE. It's believed by many to improve mood, memory, boost overall function. You've got the lion's mane, and we all hear about the mushrooms, right? You have to be careful about the mushrooms because a lot of mushrooms are full of mold. Us at Accelerated Health Products, we don't just have the amount of mold or bacteria that is approved because a lot of third parties are allowing higher levels of mold and bacteria in their products. We take it to another level. So we are very stringent with that. It's something that you need to make sure that you are looking into when you look into taking mushrooms. So the lion's mane is recognized as a brain tonic. It helps with the nerve growth factors that are thought to foster the brain's plasticity and overall brain health. It protects against degenerative brain diseases associated with memory loss. Then you have frankincense. That helps with cognitive function, increases the number of dendritic segments and branches in the hippocampal neuron cells. So that is something that there's so many benefits to frankincense, not just for brain health. There's ginkgo biloba, which I'm sure you've heard of. It's known as a brain herb, and helps with enhancing cognitive function. Bacopa, that's an herb that's been used for thousands of years, and it's widely recognized for enhancing memory and anti-inflammatory, pain reducing, sedative effects. So there's so many other ingredients in the nootropic and in the Cogniblast, and you can look at all of those ingredients on the website, Accelerated Health Products. So that is what I recommend for anxiety, depression, ADHD, cognitive decline, brain fog, even hormonally driven brain fog, whatever it is. And to answer the question in my group this morning, Sara, I can't lose weight because I'm stressed and I know the cortisol is kicking up my blood sugar. So what do I do about the stress? Well, you take the Cogniblast. And then what else can you do for your brain? And there is the acceleradine. So not only is the acceleradine needed for thyroid health, did you know that most people on antidepressants actually have low thyroid? So if they were just put on something to help with their thyroid health, they would not be depressed. And the acceleradine iodine is iodine deficiency is the number one predictor of depression and brain fog. It stands out as the only iodine that is monoatomic, 100% bioavailable. It's able to detox the body and the brain from fluoride and helping you connect to your higher self, to God, to whatever that means to you. Because the thyroid needs that iodine for the T4, T3, and T2, right? The thyroid is the bridge from the brain to the body. It connects it. So the iodine is also antimicrobial. It's antifungal, antiparasitic. It goes after viruses, all of it. And it also increases ATP levels by 18 times. Remember, all goes back to ATP. This elevation in the cellular energy helps with metabolism, caloric burn, fat oxidation, brain function, physical performance, wound healing, healthy apoptosis. Apoptosis is the destruction of disease cells. That's something that we want. It's enhanced with scalar frequencies to detox the brain and the body from the radiation, the heavy metals, fluoride, bromide, chlorine, all of it. In addition to the acceleradine, you can add in the accelerated keto, which helps trigger the body to put you into fat burning mode within 30 minutes. Why is that good for the brain? It is a cleaner burning fuel. Most of you are insulin resistant. And if you're insulin resistant in the brain doesn't know how to burn that glucose. So it's getting the second fuel of ketones. So as you are increasing your ketones in the body, your brain reduces the inflammation. It's now getting the energy to do the power and to do what it needs to do. It also increases ATP production by 5 to 10 times. It's also going to help cleanse the liver so that the body can detox from all of these things that are hitting us. And it's super important. It helps with the neurotransmitters like GABA, dopamine, serotonin. And as you're taking the accelerated keto, you're able to intermittent fast because your cravings go down and you're actually tapping into your own body fat stores. It's not stressful. Like with some intermittent fasting, people can become more stressed because they're hungry. With the accelerated keto, it takes that away. It's healing the gut, reducing inflammation, and then it's helping with the happy hormones. So what are you going to do in addition to taking the supplements? You need to incorporate a little bit of intermittent fasting, like I mentioned, with the accelerated keto, so it doesn't stress your body out. It will help with improving the neurotransmitters, serotonin, dopamine, and GABA. Stop eating the sugar, the carbs, and the processed foods. Whole foods. Focus on that protein. Get rid of the processed vegetable oils. And those oils are even in the organic soups at Whole Foods. So you got to look at the packages. Eliminating those are going to decrease the gut inflammation, improve nutrient absorption, stabilize the blood sugar. That's going to help with the leaky gut and insulin resistance. And it's going to help with your brain function. Focus on eating that wild animal protein. Bison tastes just like beef, and it is the most nutrient-dense food on the planet. Our soils are depleted. So use that bison, the lamb, deer, elk, wild fish, organic eggs. That is going to help with your neurotransmitters, your hormones, and help with the metabolism for brain and body. And try to sleep 7 to 8 hours a night. That's going to help your body to recover, support brain recovery, reduce the inflammation, and just, you know it. I mean, when you don't get your sleep, you are going to suffer. Exercise. We all know we're supposed to move the body, but why? It naturally boosts endorphins, the feel-good hormones. It rapidly increases brain-derived neurotropic factor, BDNF, and that's known to elevate or alleviate depression and anxiety and help with creativity. So those are my tips. I know it's a lot. We are in a new era where we have to supplement. We have to focus on our diet more than ever and eliminate the things that are taking us down. It's just not worth it. So hopefully this was helpful. Thanks for tuning in. And if you need my help with your health, feel free to reach out to me at sarabantahealth.com. Happy to help you. Join my free group coaching on Telegram with the link below. I share daily tips and tools to improve your health, surrounding you by a community of people who are on a similar path. And you're going to gain valuable support, take significant steps toward taking charge of your health. And you can find more information on my website, sarabantahealth.com. Don't forget to follow me on social media, Accelerated Health Products, and you can catch this podcast on over 100 platforms, including Spotify, iTunes, and iHeartRadio. Just search Accelerated Health TV and Radio Show. Like I mentioned, I'm on a mission to share my healing message with everyone who wants to hear it. So help me with this goal. Share this podcast with a few of your young and old friends who need brain health help. And remember, I'm live every Monday and Tuesday. Thank you for joining us here, and I hope you have a great week.